Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of From Page to Stage. I'm your host, Wendy Corner, and this podcast is for you if you are an entrepreneur. Yes, page and stage come together in entrepreneurship. And you're maybe thinking, really? How does that work then? Well, think about it from the page perspective. Maybe you have a solo book out. Maybe you have a contributory book out. Maybe you have a regular blog. If you're an entrepreneur, you've got socials, haven't you? What's that if it's not published work? Let's expand your horizons on that one. And then what about this stage thing? A lot of people come to me and go, oh, no, I can't do the public speaking thing. Oh, no, it's too scary. And my usual response is, can you have a one-on-one conversation with somebody? Yes. Then you can do a podcast, just like we're doing today. And yes, it is a stage. So, entrepreneurs, what's your secret sauce? What are all those wonderful wisdom ideas that you've got? Let's share them with a wider audience. Get hold of me. Let's have you on the show. Check that box. Right. That's the intro to the podcast. Now, I have the joy and pleasure of introducing you to Dr. Diane Dye. Now, we've known each other for that long. We met on a couple of networking meetings, and I went, this is a lady I want to get to know more. She is beautifully quirky, and I'll let her tell you a bit more about that. Diane, as I said, I know about this much of you. Phyllis, give us a bit of a snapshot of who you are and how you got to where you are today.
So thank you so much, Wendy, for having me on Your Words Have Power. It's just an honor to be here. So I'm Dr. Diane Dye. I am the experimentation strategist that executives and founders bring in the room when they're battling change fatigue, change chaos, even as they're trying to grow and scale.
Right.
Yeah, and I wrote a book, and that's why I'm here. I wrote a book during the pandemic, actually. It's a workbook to help businesses that were really struggling with change at the time. And the workbook is called Creating Critical Opportunity. It's a real action-oriented piece that allows you to come into awareness, consciousness, and humility around what is changing in your business and move you through an upward spiral to innovation versus a downward spiral that ultimately results in increased cash flow problems or outright failure.
Yeah. It's all about the action, isn't it? Because and it is about the action, but it's also taking that step back to take or even step up to do a helicopter view of what's actually going on. Because when we're stuck in the do, we can't often see the wood for the trees.
Oh, exactly. And that's why I'm an experimentation strategist, because it is the natural founder, entrepreneur, executive drive, to take action, to steer the ship, to go, to make things happen. And what that can create on two hands is change fatigue, which is your staff, your team, you yourself are absolutely worn out. And then the other side of it is change chaos, where you have changed so much that things just become unsustainable and it actually creates a break. So, experimentation strategy is all about looking at what I call the one domino, the one thing that when you tip it, kind of makes everything kind of trickle down. But it takes that powerful pause to look at the situation, to find the domino, and then to address the environment and the masks that the environment might be wearing and the leadership might be wearing that prevents intelligent experimentation to happen versus that other side of the thing, which is reactive change.
Yes. Intelligent investigation. What was it? Intelligent
The experimentation.
That was it.
Yes,
Sorry.
the ability to experiment
Yes.
with things versus making flash decisions.
Yes.
And also making flash decisions and not giving things time to stick. Thinking, I tried it. It's done
Yeah.
right. You might have seen that with people who start to write books, right? Me, myself, I probably have about 10 unfinished books. Why?
Mhm.
Because I drove myself into change chaos, change fatigue, trying to write those. I freaked myself out and I quit.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that can happen in any context, right? Where you create this great idea, this visionary idea, and you start to put action toward it, but it's just not sticking fast enough for
Yes.
our dopamine addicted brains and our scroll addicted society.
Yes.
So what that does is that short circuits us and it turns us into, that didn't work. That experiment didn't work. But you're not actually doing an experiment at that point or following any sort of methodology. I
Hmm.
refer it to, it's not just throwing spaghetti at a wall. It's like you have a pot of boiling water with spaghetti in it, and then
Hmm.
you're reaching in with your hand to the boiling water, and you're picking up the spaghetti and you're throwing it at the wall and doing it over and over and over again, burning yourself, depleting your organization in the process. And when you do that, that chaos, that exhaustion, all of that impacts the bottom line and impacts the ability to grow, to scale, to change, to do really great things in the world.
Yes. I mean, you're going to have a very fast staff turnover as well.
Yeah, yeah. People don't hang with change fatigue, and especially if they're good. If you
Mm.
have people who are good in your organization, they may be loyal, but are they good? And if they're good, they're not going to stick through abuse.
Yes.
They're going to know their worth, and they are going to leave, and it is going to cost more to replace them. But not only that, you as a leader will leave. You will
Yeah.
leave yourself in the process of building your own thing. You will abandon the project. You will abandon yourself. The nasty recordings will kick up in your brain that start telling you that like you're a bad leader. You shouldn't be doing this anyway. Why don't you just go out and find a job like the rest of the world? Like all of this stuff
Hmm.
is going to start spinning up,
Hmm.
and that is a symptom of change fatigue and
Mm.
of not experimenting in a way that feels safe enough to your nervous system
Oh, yes.
in order to keep you in the experiment. And
Yeah.
that's what that pot of boiling water is. It's just activating your nervous system and
Yes.
activating your panic response. And then you either drive further into the wall or you blow up the wall, but you're not responding to the environment and the changes in the environment, and you're not noticing the micro changes as a result of the change.
Hmm.
So ultimately you wake up and go, what just happened?
Yeah.
And it's,
So
yeah.
is your work, I mean, we haven't had a chance to really dig into your work before we got onto this recording. So does your work, obviously you've got the business strategical stuff. Do you cover any somatics as well?
So I look at, I mean, the whole person
Mm.
comes to the table in a
Yes.
company. The whole person always comes to the table.
Yeah.
And if you deny that piece of it, of leadership and leadership strategy and leadership philosophy, you are missing a big piece of the puzzle,
Yes.
because the smaller the organization is, the the more essential it is for that top line leadership to be incredibly aware. And that's what awareness, consciousness, and humility is all about as well. It's understanding in the midst of change, neurobiologically, you're going to have amygdala hijack.
Mm.
How do you not just do the downward spiral behavior of isolation, because that's what some people will do. They will go back into isolation. They will become lone wolves out of
Yes.
protection.
Yeah.
And I have to solve this problem. And it is a approach to handle that natural amygdala hijack. But what it is counterproductive about that is that while that amygdala hijack is being handled, the data flow stops, the
Mm-hmm.
experimentation stops, and it becomes this quiet holding period that, depending on what just occurred, could be highly uncomfortable for the rest of the company, right? Like this thing just happened and our CEO just took off for the Poconos.
Yeah.
We don't know, what environment this is happening in, but whether it's on an organizational team level or a leadership level, that utilization and the power of the pause when an external threat or a known internal threat to the organization is realized is
Mm-hmm.
incredibly important. I don't think that
Yeah.
you can avoid it. So really it's a world of both. It's a
Yeah.
world of awareness of where leadership is at the point of the change and getting from reaction into proactivity,
Yeah.
and then climbing a process. And in my workbook, the upward spiral is a 7-stage process that you go through. And if you don't go through this process, and this is a process we all go through naturally anyway, but if you don't go through this process, when it comes to the point where you do start gathering support, if you haven't done that work to align and understand the problem, understand the environment, understand what even what is the domino?
Yes.
What is the one domino that needs to be tipped? When you
Mhm.
go and gather support, you're going to create confusion.
Yes.
And you're either not going to gather support, you're going to stay in isolation, or if you're still hijacked, you're going to do something. And this happens within organizations all the time. I call it joining forces with hate. And that's when you're looking for people to co-sign the bad thing. This is
Mm-hmm.
terrible. This is horrible. This is the
Mm-hmm.
thing that's going on. I want you to agree with me and you to agree with me. And this is
Yes.
all horrible. Does that
Confirmation bias
does that
101.
serve the experiment? No.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't. But what it does is it creates more chaos. It drives into that change chaos.
Yeah.
So when you really have a process and both, when you recognize what's going on and how it's impacting you as a leader,
Mm-hmm.
and then you begin to work a systematic process to begin to understand what that domino is and how what the environment is around that, then you can say strategically, all right, who are the stakeholders to the change? Who do I need to tap into? And sometimes, like, I'll just bring it back to your purpose. If you're
Mm-hmm.
writing a book, there are no stakeholders to the change other than maybe your spouse, and your spouse may or may not be the right stakeholder for the change. So who are you walking alongside,
Yes.
and who is part of that? It's really known that you become the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the
Yeah.
most. So understanding those 5 people, and I like to, and this is not in the workbook, but it is in my keynote where you talk about, are they upshifters? Are they midshifters and neutral? Or are they
Mm-hmm.
downshifters?
Mm-hmm.
And filling that bench, that cohort, as I call it, with those upshifters who are going to, a sign of an upshifter is that they are non-judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
They ask great questions. They make time for the conversation. They're not having the conversation while they're also doing
Yeah.
something else, right? They provide resources, but they do not push agenda on you. And they follow up. They
Yes.
follow up as well. It's not, a mic drop moment. There is, consistent positivity and support and follow up. And
Mm-hmm.
when you have those upshifters that you are surrounded by and you can walk together through this, you do get through the change. Now, not all stakeholders in change are going to be upshifters, because you have antis, you have allies, you have advocates, and you have outright adversaries.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have that awareness, consciousness, and humility, first of all, just to look at the whole thing
Yes.
and go, who does fall into that category?
And again, it's the without judgment, isn't it? So
without
actually
judgment.
having
Right.
you as the leader taking that step back and going, who is on my bench?
Absolutely.
Where do their strengths
Absolutely.
lie? Yeah.
And the executive role is a lonely one.
Yes.
It is 72% of executives are working in isolation.
Yeah.
And it's because it's not safe. It's not safe to go to your board because you're supposed to go to your board with recommendations, with vision that if something is going wrong, something is going wrong, but here's where we're taking it so that it's not going to. You don't come to your board with problems. You come to your board
Yeah.
with solutions
Solutions.
as an executive.
Yeah.
Your lateral C level, they are looking for wind in their sails in their disciplines. So the CMO is looking for marketing wind in their sails. The
Mhm.
financial is looking for financial, and they want to be enrolled in the problem solving piece
Yes.
of it. But until you know what the problem is and you go to them, they're going to be running all sorts of different directions because
Mhm.
the problem isn't clear. You're a chief executive officer because you are the officer to those executives. So that's not a safe place to figure
Mhm.
out what the domino is. And then finally, the rank and file. You know, if you're in a larger organization that has employees, not only are you not really able to go to bosses when don't know what the domino is, you certainly can't go to the person who's on the phone talking to your customer.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that is really the conundrum,
Mm.
the lack of space for that.
Mm.
So that's what I created with the CEO Innovation Masterclass and the CEO Innovation Cohort.
Oh, such a necessary thing because I mean, those of us who are entrepreneurs and have started off as solopreneurs, we ourselves know how lonely that can be. So it's
Mhm.
really refreshing to hear you say that actually it's not only in the entrepreneurial world, in the corporate world, those at the top live a lonely existence as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's like when you sit down at a table and you realize we're not so different after all. If we are building our own thing, we are
Yeah.
not so different after all. And we are walking a path that is the uncommon path, but it's
Mhm.
also the rewarding path, the fulfilling path, the path that if it were easy, everyone would travel it.
Yes. And it would be a bit crowded, gone out the way, out the
Oh,
way.
the road would get really crowded. It look a whole lot like Los Angeles.
Road rage. No, 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 no. Love it, love it. Thank you. Okay, so just to backtrack for a minute, audience, if you're not familiar with the amygdala, it's a part of your brain that is a little almond shape on both sides, and it is where the emotions get triggered. It remembers everything, and that's where it goes, we've done this before, not necessarily in this situation, but I'm going to respond from what we did before, in
Oh,
case you weren't familiar
yes.
with that.
Creates all sorts of wreckage
Oh,
and
yes.
all sorts of relationships of all different sorts of varieties. And what's funny about the little amygdala is that you don't really know the source of it. You just know the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So you bring your whole self to work and some big change hits, something hits, and you have this reaction to it. And that's why the power of the pause at the moment of critical opportunity is what I call it. And it is a critical opportunity because you can either spiral up or you can spiral
Yep.
down. And it is 100% your choice. But if you don't take that pause, you're gonna react out of whatever trauma that is.
Yes, and as you say, you may not know it consciously at the time. I mean, it's back to that old adage: count to 10 before you say anything.
Yep. Yes.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that feedback. Exactly, as you said, it's the power of the pause because that gives your cognitive ability time to catch up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
love
does. It does. And the other time where you can use the power of the pause is when you're starting to get a little overwhelmed. So what the listeners might not know is your brain does have a capacity point for information going in. And everybody's brain is different. And when
Mhm.
I kind of equate it to a jar of marbles, how you can literally lose your marbles if there's too many marbles in the jar. But
Yes.
everyone has different sizes of jars, right? And when that overflows, it's called cognitive overload. And when you are cognitively overloaded, you can also trigger that little amygdala back there into fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or the other trauma F word. And that's game over, right?
Yes.
So that critical opportunity is made possible by the pause and the recognition that you are closest to the decision maker, and that decision maker is you. And when you reclaim that pause for power, you are able to then calm anything neurobiologically that's going on and come into awareness, consciousness, and humility experimentation mode, aka, and
Hmm.
run that experiment in a way that's going to make sense. And not only make sense, it's going to open doors to innovation. It's going to open doors. It's going to have a very open versus restrictive energy. Anytime you ask a question marks are very expansive little punctuations, and
Hmm.
those punctuations open doors. But if you're willing to look at something and rewire yourself to go, I've had experience with that. I know. I tell my executives, be willing to unlearn what you think you know.
Yep.
And if you are willing to unlearn what you think you know, you can then look and you can challenge it. You can say, okay, maybe this is true because A, B, C, D, E, F, G reasons. But maybe this is not true because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G reasons.
Hmm.
And then from that not true, I'm going to look at that and go,
Hmm.
maybe it's possible that da, 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 da. And off of those, you pick one. You pick
Yes.
one that rises to the top for you. Because
Hmm.
when you pick that one, that is your innovation point. That is the point in which you have a possible innovation here that could change your business. It could change your life. It could change everything for you. You just have to be willing to lean in and experiment with it.
That's it. And it's okay to get it wrong.
Yeah.
I think that excuse me, I'm speaking for myself here, and I suspect, I hope that I'm not alone in this, that half the problem of actually changing is what there's a technical term for it, isn't it? Anyway, you've put so much effort into it, you can't possibly change, and yet you know that there's no point in carrying on. I mean, dear
Mhm.
Einstein said, if you do the same thing over and over and over again and expect to get a different result, isn't that the sign of madness? Well, if it's not working, admit it, take that step back and go, what else could we do? Possibilities. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Okay, so
Absolutely.
I want to take
And
you back in time.
mhm.
When did you first get the idea that you enjoyed writing? I mean, we all started the mechanics around about the same age, but were you a writer in school? Did you have poems? Did you do journaling
Oh,
as a teenager? Tell
yes.
us about that.
Oh, yeah. I did. I used to write poetry when I was
Did you?
little, and I'd take my little poetry book and I'd sit under a tree and I would let out my emotions with poetry. And it felt so good to do that. It felt so good to just get my words and my emotions out on paper in a
Mhm.
way where I could wrap my head around my teenage angst. So I
Yes.
was I was always a writer in
Okay.
school. I
Mhm.
really enjoyed every writing assignment I ever had. I really loved doing that. I also loved acting and loved being on stage, and I continued that through adulthood and grew up and got on stage doing Taming of the Shrew and
Ooh.
all of the things like that. So it's always kind of gone hand in hand for me, page and
Mm.
stage,
Mm.
and it's a great expression of of just pouring from what's within out into the world in a way that and it can be, writing can just be for me, and I write plenty just for me, mostly just for me.
Yeah.
And then I write for others as well through the blog on peopleriskconsulting.com, through the way I contribute to the media as well. I'll see a question and I'll just free flow out a response and contribute that way. So writers helping other writers.
Yes.
But it's a release. Writing is a release.
Isn't it? Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the ways, audience, if you don't already know, I've put out 2 international bestsellers this year. And the first one was talking about letting go of physical stuff. I went from hoarder to hand luggage. And when I was writing this, again, those of you who don't already know, my background is in speech pathology. My editor said, Wendy, you're not a speech pathologist anymore. These are not clinical notes. We want to know a bit about you, the emotions around the events that you're speaking about. So yes, you really do have a release as you're writing. And it's often those tricky stories that are the hardest ones to share verbally. If you get it out on paper first, it's a great release.
Absolutely. And part of that pause, when things are coming in from the outside or inside of the organization, can be a close of the door and just a flash of the pen, and just pouring it out. And many people process better like that as well.
Yes.
I'm a verbal processor, but I know
Yeah.
people who are absolutely written processors.
Yes.
And however that processing comes to do it, whether it's speaking, whether it's writing, whether it's creating art,
Yes.
it's important.
It is important. It is. And as you're saying, if you're a verbal processor, having a trusted friend who you can say, I don't want you to say anything. I just need you to listen. Particularly if you're talking to a fella, because they like to fix you, because that's their makeup. It's all right. All I need you to do is listen. I want to process. You happy with that? Expectations from the start. And there we
Yes.
go. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Oh, very good. Very good. Okay. So when did you first get published?
So I published my workbook, Creating Critical Opportunity, during the pandemic. It was
As you said.
April 2020. So I really, sorry. Yeah, April 2020. It's about right. And
Else
and
percolating.
it was percolating for a long time because it was my master's thesis.
Ah, of course. Yes.
Mhm, mhm.
Yes. And is
So
there anything else coming afterwards?
I've had a lot of people tell me that there should be and there needs to be. I think there's going to be a second edition
Okay.
workbook coming out,
Yeah.
and where I link it a little firmer in with experimentation, because this version really was, and the one that's on Amazon now was written during the pandemic,
Yeah.
and it was really, and you still see a few pandemic references in
Yes.
there about loss of control, about our
Yes.
environment changing and having no other recourse except to change, right? So
Yeah.
that's the framework that Creating Critical Opportunity, that the first edition, and by
Yes.
Diane Dye, by the way, because it was pre-doctorate. And but it was created so that I could help businesses survive the pandemic,
Yes.
so that I could keep my clients from shutting down. And none of them did, by the way. In fact, I
Oh,
even
well
have
done.
a healthcare organization that was able to continue to see clients in person because of what
Whoa.
they discovered. Yes, yes, it was absolutely amazing. And during the height of sensitivities, they were able to provide mental health care and behavioral health care to people because they were able to quickly create an aligned and unafraid coalition
Mm.
to own how the organization was going to move forward to align to the quickly evolving standards over the pandemic. as well as keep people comfortable, as well as keep staff healthy, as well as have replacement staff, as well as letting go of outdated attendance policies that they had and were giving awards for. So all of these things. So that's the original context of the workbook,
Yes.
was to answer, really, I was told flat out during the pandemic, you're crazy. You're crazy, Diane. You think that people are going to grow and innovate right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're absolutely nuts. People are shutting down. You need to get real. And to that, I'm like, you need to get real. This is a critical
Yes.
opportunity. This
Ideal
is literally
opportunity.
my entire master's thesis coming
Yeah.
to life. And I'm in a unique position to help. And
Yes.
so I did. So that's the workbook that's out right now. And you do inspire me to do a second edition.
Well, the thing is, I mean, yes, the pandemic was such that the world stopped. We had to because we had to count out of what the government was saying. And as you say, things were changing almost by the news report.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering that sense of loss of control, whether you're feeling that now with the advent of AI.
You know, many of my clients are feeling that loss of control, but that loss of control, again, comes from not knowing what that domino is where AI applies.
Yes.
So when you look at AI as that outside event, that
Mm-hmm.
outside occurrence, that thing that is changing the world as we know it,
Yes.
you want to look at that within the context of, okay, but what's my domino in relation to AI? AI is not your domino. That is
No.
not, it is way big. It is Time Magazine's Person of the Year. It is the founders of AI. It is not your domino. Your domino is the thing that, should you experiment with AI, could change for the better.
Yes.
Whatever
That's a
that is for
possibility,
you,
isn't it? Yeah.
whatever that is for you. For me, it ended up being, how am I better heard, better seen, and that my message gets to the individuals that need it the most.
Yes.
And I am able to leverage that to amplify that desire, and that is my domino. And anytime with it, anywhere in my company, in my team, that is the question I will ask every time, because someone will be ranting along about something. I said, is that related to the domino here and now today? How is that related to the domino
Yes.
here and now today?
Bringing it down, bringing it back, bringing it back. Yeah.
Right. You want
Yeah.
to ask any question around that, but why? And I have a spectrum of emotionality for questioning, but why is the most emotional question you can
Oh,
ask. It
yes.
gets you right to the heart of it. You
Yes.
ask someone why 7 times, they will cry.
Mm.
So when you're experimenting, unless you're doing an emotional experiment, which I do not recommend, you want to stay in the realm of what, when, where,
Mm-hmm.
how,
Mm.
who, those questions. And even when you get to who, that's where it starts to tip and become more emotional, because now you're talking about person. You're
Peaceful.
talking about
Yes.
personally. How is another one that is on the tipper of emotion. So when you go into how, so how, who, and why, how will bring you into like almost reliving.
Yeah.
And then it just tips down into spectrum of emotionality.
Mm.
So when you're asking those questions, you also want to be mindful of the impact
Yes.
of those questions as you change.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So you've mentioned that you've been no stranger to the stage. You've loved doing all sorts of things. In terms of your speaking, now, I reflect on this pretty much with all of my North American guests. In the UK, we didn't have to do class presentations at school. And I'm hearing an awful lot of people as adults who've gone, "Oh, I'm not doing that again. Got shut down, I got teased, and da da da." Now, I'm guessing that you had no problem with your class presentations.
Oh, that's funny. That's
I'm not right.
really
Tell
funny.
us more.
Oh, well, I had the worst butterflies and I couldn't breathe. I literally could not breathe. I would get up on stage, my stomach would just go all aflutter, and that would have impacted my breathing.
Of
And so
course.
I would be like this and trying to catch my breath because I couldn't breathe on stage. And I remember that it's really just like any sort of performance, whether you're performing in a play, which I started doing when I was in kindergarten, and all the way up to you're actually on a stage in front of thousands of people. You lower the wall. So there's this thing, it's called the fourth wall, and breaking the fourth wall. And it's
Okay.
the distance. The fourth wall is the distance between the performer and the audience. Now,
Oh.
there are some plays, and William Shakespeare is famous for this, for breaking the fourth wall. And when you break that fourth wall and you address the audience, that's when the extra layer of risk comes in, because you really do see them, right? You're really like talking to them like they're a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And so one early tool that I used is I kept the wall up and I allowed myself to be my own representation of my character. And I went into my full authenticity, and I didn't care if anybody was sitting out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just here in my own stage show and
Mm-hmm.
doing my thing. Am I addressing the audience? Yes. But am I finding one person in the crowd, just talking to them? Absolutely not. Not to start. Not to start. And in fact, I used in theater, um, stage theater, you have stage lights
Oh,
that shine,
yes. Mm.
and you really can't see the
You can't
audience.
see the audience, no.
No. So you can use that to be in your character. So if you can remember those stage lights, and you can be in your character, and you can be in your content and your character and the value that you're providing and all of that,
Mm.
suddenly the audience just drops away,
Yeah.
and you're in your world. So when I learned that, and that was a really comfortable space for me to be in, it gave me the growth area to
Mm-hmm.
then be that person that interacts with the audience, that pulls, has conversations within the audience, and really plays beyond that fourth wall and breaking that actor's fourth wall. But it's a great way to practice. So no, I
Mm.
had terrible breathing problems, and I solve those as well by going live on TikTok. So I go live on TikTok several mornings a week.
Right.
Yeah, at Dr. Diane Dye. And I will just talk, and I will learn moving around. And I literally am moving around. Some people start the get ready with me videos by just doing their makeup, and it's sort of a makeup tutorial. Oh no, I'll start while I'm in bed, because I have to make myself get up, because I'm neurodivergent and
Mm-hmm.
I need motivators. I need hard motivators. And
Mm-hmm.
let me tell you, I'm not going to go live and stay in bed. When I go live and go, good morning, feet on the floor. And I'm off to feed my dogs, and they watch me feed my dogs, and my dogs go outside, and all of that. And I just do it live. So I'm moving around. And while I'm moving around, I'm learning breath control.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to stay feet glued to one spot on the stage. I
Yep.
am able to move around and express and use my hands and things like that without going, because I'm training.
Yes.
So stage training is so important to do, and to find, and to really, and this is learning theory as well. My doctorate is in education and
Mm-hmm.
organizational change and leadership. So education theory says you meet someone where they're at. So you need to meet yourself where you're at in
Mm-hmm.
your experience. If you have never gone live, don't set a goal to go live 5 times in a week. Set
Yes.
out set a goal to go live for 5 minutes. Meet yourself where you're at and then iterate or grow from there. Iteration is part of experimentation strategy as well. The ability to not only walk the road, but to walk where the road goes. And that takes a lot of courage to do that, a lot of bravery to be able to do that. But when you meet yourself like that in a learning journey, you're not going to freak yourself out because you're going so big. You're just not going so big. You're just going to your next step and your next step and your next step. And your next step leads to big. And
Back
that's
to that domino again, isn't it?
back to the domino, right?
Yes. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Thank you. So your speaking career has involved, I'm guessing, also training in corporate situations.
Yes. Yes.
And you do
Yep.
workshops,
I do
keynoting.
highly customized workshops.
Yes.
So when a organization brings me in, and I'll give you an example. I was contacted by an international travel company that had acquired a localized travel company. And this travel company had a 75-year-old brand that people adored. And it was really, really important to do this right and to learn about strategic communication and change management and how the two played together and how the two played together in their specific circumstance.
Yes.
So I learned about the assignment. I met with some executive level stakeholders. I put together their custom training for their situation. I flew out to New Jersey. I delivered that in a day and I did a little bit of follow up. And I am just so pleased as punch to report that their change has gone swimmingly and people are excited about it. And why? Not because I showed up, but because they brought their stakeholders along in the change journey. That is the number one mistake that executives who are introducing change do. The mistake that they make is they introduce top-down change as a dictate, and then they wonder why there's resistance. No one likes being told what to do, but if they're informed on what's happening and there are 360-degree feedback loops and there's an open dialogue, you are able to identify those points of resistance and address them before they become a problem. And so that's what that organization was able to do. And I do those workshops rarely, and I now do one-on-one work rather rarely because I am building my CEO innovation cohort. Because I actually think that executives deserve not to face business problems alone.
Yes.
And they deserve to face their business problems, not alone, but with people who are aligned, who are at similar revenue levels, similar journeys, similar to what I had in my master's program when I was laid off 3 months into my master's program. And in my doctorate, when they told me not to change anything, and I changed everything. I had this cohort that just walked alongside me and loved on me and asked me open questions. And I had high levels of trust. And the CEO innovation cohort isn't anything extra to do. It's basically how you show up to do the work of the day. And I'm excited to build it. And it all starts with the CEO Innovation Masterclass, which talks about kind of those predecessors to understanding what barriers lie in the way of innovation and how to do intelligent experimentation. But that's really the core of what I'm working on right now in conjunction with raising visibility, speaking, and maybe writing that second edition.
The reason I was asking that because audience, what you'll have heard from Diane is that she speaks in different arenas. So workshop skills, masterminds, one-on-ones, group work, and keynotes, obviously, they are all slightly different skills required, complementary, but different. just as in the same way that she was talking about being on a physical stage, when you can wander up and down and you can use your hands very broadly, but not when it comes to virtual land. You have to be aware of your little celebrity square. Just to point that one out. They are complementary, they are slightly different. So if you are thinking, I can't do the public speaking, just as Diane was talking about the fourth wall, get on a podcast. It is a stage. Get the rungs on the ladder, and you can feel more confident that you can share your information, even if we start with one-on-one. Thank you. Okay, so we've spoken about your speaking, your writing. You've showed us what you're talking about, showed us what you're working on at the moment, which sounds phenomenal. That would be a really good thing to get in touch with. We're going to put all the links in the show notes. So audience, don't worry. I know she's mentioned a few links and things. We'll make sure they're all in the show notes for you. While I'm talking about show notes, for those of you who don't already know, I have what I call dynamic show notes. So when a guest comes back and says, oh, I'm just launching this, or I've got this going on, I go, oh, have you? That's interesting. We'll go back and we'll change the show notes. I'll do a quick socials blast. And if you've got another edition coming out, come hither. Let's talk. So that's where what I do from this podcast. So audience, this is for you as well. Make sure you keep in touch and you will see the extra stuff that comes out as and when. Okay, thank you. Right. One of the last questions I'm going to ask you is, how do you embody your words when you take them from page to stage?
When I take my words from page to stage, I like to demonstrate the frameworks. I have a live event that I'm doing in Austin, and I'm actually going to be pulling the founder of the art space where I'm having the event onto the stage, because he has such a fantastic transformation story that resulted in a critical opportunity. So I'm going to embody the work and the framework by having him tell his story, and then and asking him questions and mapping it to the framework and the opportunities, because it's not like, okay, I chose the upward spiral, I'm good. Oh, no. We all touch the downward spiral. We all do. It's just a matter of how far we choose to go down. And the bottom of the downward spiral is giving up. It's quitting. It's giving up. It's the ultimate giving up. It's the dark, dark place, right? So, and we all touch it. We all touch it. There is no perfect way to do this. So on stage, what I do is I embody the work through conversation. And that's what the innovation cohort does as well, as it embodies the work. So I'm very excited for the live events and to be able to have these stories be heard in a different way, because these stories may have been told, but they haven't been told like this. Yes. So I think it's important to embody the page on the stage.
Exactly. Thank you. Now you're based in Texas. This event's going to happen in Texas, isn't it?
Yes. I am based in Texas, but I look forward to speaking everywhere. I'd love to come speak in the UK.
Yay! Well, you never know. We may actually coincide at the moment, because audience, I'm sitting in Mexico. So this is a truly global podcast. Okay, so as we're winding up then, Diane, have you got any final words of wisdom for us?
Absolutely. I really just want to harken back to what I mentioned here on the podcast. I want to challenge your listeners to examine what they think they know. What do you think you know that is an absolute certain that is causing you pain?
Yes.
And be willing to examine that. Be willing to experiment with that. Be willing to go on Amazon, pick up my workbook so you have a workbook and a framework to actually get your hands on a pen and pencil it through. I will tell you that I hit a snag. I hit a snag this year, and I'm so happy that I utilize therapy. I think everyone should. And my therapist, I was like, give me a worksheet, give me something. And she's like, didn't you write the book? Use your own workbook.
Yes.
Diane, use your own workbook. So I
Yeah.
did. I picked up my workbook, which, by the way, it's right here, Creating Critical
Beautiful.
Opportunity, gorgeous workbook. And I grabbed a pen and I just started working. And lo and behold, it pointed me to my mentor, who is helping me be seen. Her name is Jen Gottlieb. She's the author of a book called Be Seen, and connected me into so many resources that have
Mm-hmm.
now allowed me to be seen on stage, in media, all of that, all because I just was willing to unlearn what I thought I knew,
Yes.
put pen to paper, and find my critical opportunity. And I issue the same challenge to your audience.
I love it when the plan comes together. It's those times when, I mean, I've done it as well. My third book will be around rewriting the internal scripts. And just this week, there's been a case of, yep, do it yourself, Wendy. Physician, heal thyself. So
Yes.
yes, it's really critical, isn't it, that we actually take that step back and examine what we are absolutely certain about, because that certainty does not give any opportunity for an alternative view and possibilities that could be out there.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. Diane, thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing your from page to stage.
Thank you so much for having me, Wendy.
For now, bye from us.